Councillor Johnson.
Good morning, everyone. So firstly, I would just like to acknowledge that although we do have voters that voted for a particular mayor, we also have voters that voted for us. And I have many voters that voted for me. And I think that one of the best things that this mayor has done since he's taken office is allowed all of us councillors to represent our constituents at this table, to speak in differing opinions with respect and acknowledgement. And so I value that, and I will continue to do so. And I don't think that that diminishes any of our process by respectfully disagreeing. So I have a couple questions in terms of the content of the report. So the first one would be, can you explain to me what a deferral of capital projects for transit might look like? Could you give me some examples of what movements we might see there?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Mayor. A good example could be if we need to replace all the shelters, we can decide to go slowly or we can skip just 1 year.
Okay, so just to acknowledge that in Bell's Corners, we actually don't have an active transportation link between that neighborhood and the future Moody station that is currently funded. So my concern might be that for those capital projects that still don't even have funding, if we defer existing projects, we might not get to that list. My other concern might be that many of our shelters are not AODA compliant. And so when I have residents who use mobility devices that want to use a shelter, I've already been telling them that we won't be able to replace them until I don't know when. And so further reductions in or further deferrals of these solutions might negatively impact some of our vulnerable communities. I'd also like to understand, could someone explain to me what the facility rationalization process is going to look like for the new year?
Mr. Mayor, I'll start off, and Dan, if you want to top me up, you can top me up. So that's part of the review. That's been one of the ideas that's generated through the service review framework. So I've been working closely with Dan. Dan's been working with his team as well in terms of looking at our, I'll call it the facility stock. As a reminder, in this budget or the 2023 budget, Councillor Gower brought forward a property in his ward on Purdy Street that was deemed to be surplus. So we can actually take that out of our stock, which means we save the maintenance costs, which means we save the life cycle requirement costs, which means we can reinvest that money back into the priority facilities. So another dimension of the service review framework really is about taking, reinvesting the savings into the priorities and the core services. So more information will come as we go through that framework. Dan, I don't know if you have anything to top me up on that.
Yeah, Mr. Mayor, as Cyril said, we've, for the last 2 years now, have been identifying facilities that are, in most cases, surplus to city needs. They tend to be aging facilities that require a lot of funding to maintain. And so we've identified those and a plan to phase them out where possible. In some cases, it's to sell the land. It's just in other cases, it's simply to eliminate the expense. There are two other aspects to it that are perhaps less related to facility decommissioning and more aligned with revenue generation. One of them is to accelerate the revenue generation from our facilities, and that is both in terms of advertising opportunities, things like billboards. We have a program for billboards that has been on pause for a while, and it's to accelerate that. And then the other one is to review the leases that are in city facilities to both standardize the lease rates that we're charging groups and making sure that everyone's on board in terms of paying those leases. So those three initiatives are three streams that are active at this point.
Thank you very much. I think we need to unpack, just as we have an opportunity, facility rationalization could mean the divestment of properties and neighborhoods that are currently under the City of Ottawa's ownership. It's not going to be done haphazardly, but it may impact our communities, and it is part of the tough choices that we have to make considering our financial position today. So I think we all do need to watch for that as it comes through next year. I know that my residents in Nepean and other pre-amalgamation villages and cities might be interested in seeing how that works out. So, I'm not going to speak too much about how we are looking at transit. I think that's been very well covered. But I think I'd like to focus on my concerns around 2.9%, as many other have, in terms of our current service levels. And I just wanted to acknowledge that I actually, deeply believe that staff is doing everything they can. When I look at each one of the general managers, they are digging deep, they are getting creative, and they are finding solutions as best they can. But there are certain pressures that come with a lack of resources that I think can be acknowledged. So, when we look at something like park maintenance, when we look at something like the weeds that are being cut through from medians, I just received an email saying that some of the weeds that I'm looking to get cut on Cordova are going to be done by the end of summer 2024 season. Uh, I think, are we there? I think we are there, but I think it's all of these little stretches that we have to make sure that these teams can get everywhere they need to go. And my concern is that we don't make the decisions that we need to make politically to support those staff that are working tirelessly and with a tremendous amount of pride for the public good. We've also seen traffic studies. They used to be collecting traffic data 48 hours in the Little Armadillo. Now they've moved down to 24 hours because those things need to move around so many times because so many people are concerned about traffic volumes and speeds. Residents expect us to be able to at least deliver on the data that they are asking us to collect, but we're edging out the quality of that data when we reduce our resources. Similarly, I have a very strong baseball community that is desperate to bring in baseball tourism, but our facilities are at a standard, which is our City of Ottawa standard and no fault of anyone's own, but they are not the quality of standard that we're seeing for play around the province. So we cannot attract these competitive tournaments because we don't have the standards of play. These are dollars that we are missing out on when it comes to tourism because our standards are such that are currently being resourced. I don't mind if we're going to make these decisions, but the way that we continue to budget towards a cap means that there is no space for new good ideas. This is about a maintaining of a status quo that residents are already dissatisfied with. So when it comes to the councillor from Little Barhaven's motion to say, let's have a proactive weed maintenance program, where is the funding going to come for that? When we want to have a permanent resource that's going to support community associations to negotiate with the CIP, where is it going to come for that? When it's going to come to the wildlife strategy and having a wildlife specialist that's literally going to be the solution to all of our wildlife problems, by the way, where's the funding going to come for that? And so all I am suggesting is that we need to start talking about new good ideas, and these budget directions don't allow us to do that. Thank you.